Hello and welcome. Whenever I get a new product, I like putting it through its paces. Products say they could do all sorts of things, and sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. So I wanted to take a look at the Sleever Pro, kind of hammer it pretty hard and see if it lives up to what it says it could do, and we'll take a look together how that pans out. So first, we'll look at the tool itself. It's a relatively simple tool and easy to use in that sense, and has a nice gentle surface for the cards, and yeah, a little hole to grab up here. We'll see how that works, and overall looks like it would be durable. It's not going to be something you drive your car over or wash dishes with, though if you kind of maintain it and care for it, it should have a pretty good lifespan. And so first thing is I will make sure it's clean with a microfiber cloth. You never know if you get dust on there, any kind of grime. You don't want that in between this and your card. You want a nice smooth surface. So yeah, so let's put a card in it and see how this works. And so you can keep it flat. I like to have some kind of a surface to put it on, and that way when you're working with your cards, you don't have to worry about picking them up and stuff and getting your hands on the face of it. With the Sleever Pro, you can literally just handle the edges of your cards, never have to touch the face or the back. Line it up right where the colors change here. So what that does is it sets it back a little bit from the edge, and so when it's going into a sleeve, the corners from the tool are what's coming into contact first and kind of doing the work, taking the brunt of the force and not your card. So we've got that. We'll put a second Sleever Pro on top, making a little bit of a sandwich there. And then you just put it in your sleeve as usual, and there it is tucked in. And so once it's in there, actually this will be important to kind of check out. So when cards are in a sleeve, right, like we've got this, and you're holding it, you're holding the card. You're kind of, touching it a little bit through the sleeve, right? But you could still, you hold it gently. It's not going to be firm and crazy, and the card's fine. Same thing with the Sleever Pro. We're going to be gently holding the card in the middle. Again, we're not, doing it so that it's super hard, but we're going to gently hold it, and then you pull the sleevers out and right out. So very easy, similar to how we hold cards and sleeves. Easy as that. Now, if you have a thicker card, an option could be, once you have it in the sleeve, what we could do is, because it's going to be a little tighter in there, right? Depending on the sleeve or the card thickness or the top loader or whatever it is that you're using. Again, gently hold, and then just slide out one sleever tool, and then the same for the other. And that way, the pressure is easier, the friction is less as it's coming out if you have a tighter space. So again, that's pretty cool. That works nicely. And just like any tool, common sense will prevail. But before anything, using it in the right context. Is it clean? Have you tested with it on cards that have nearly no value to make sure that you like the results? So all that above and beyond what the tool could do is the common sense and the right context for use. Once that intelligence is applied, you're good to go. And I found in most cases it works really, really well. Also works for, actually let's do semi-rigids, right? So we all know this. We kind of take our card and we kind of pinch this just the right way. We don't want too much pressure here. We don't want to snap on the card or push too much on the top. And eventually it works. We kind of get things in. Sleever Pro, let's take that. I usually put the card even with the bottom, for the most part in this case, maybe up just a tiny bit. And then just open up our semi-rigid, let this slide in. And again, you're just holding here as you're pushing in, nothing on the card itself. All that is kind of distributed across the Sleever Pro. There you go. You are in the semi-rigid without worrying about flexing, moving, pushing, anything like that. Sleever Pro handled that pretty well, and I like that result. And we also have the top loaders. Again, same thing. Top loaders come in all different thicknesses, just like there are different card thicknesses. So make sure you're using an appropriate thickness. And then, yeah, this just goes in. And you could slide this one out, and then you could slide this one out. And there you go. In the top loader we are. So that's pretty awesome. And then we also have an example to test of when it goes into the binder pages. So again, we'll put this in a little bit, set in from the edge, and then open our binder page, slide this in. It's a little tighter fit, so we're going to remove one at a time there. Back one out, and then the top one. What's cool is that the pressure is distributed across the surface. You could even use the tool to gently set your card towards the bottom, then gently hold the card, and out comes the tool. There we go, in our binder page. So that worked really quickly as well. But the last thing I want to look at, and the most important, is how does this look when we get real rough? Is this surface going to be okay? So let's take a look at the surface of this card. Nothing too that jumps out. Now let's take a look at this under our close-up view and see. So here's our card. Let's try to find a mark so you know that this is the same card. Let's look at this top left area here. There's kind of like two white marks. If you can kind of see right over here. 1, 2. So now let's put that under our close-up view, and you could see the same two marks, 1, 2. There we go. We got one big one, two big ones. So you can see, same card, no shifty wifties. So now let's check out the surface, and nothing really big jumps out. Looking good. All right, so now let's take this card. We'll put it into the sleever here. And then let's get a regular sleeve so it's a tight fit. We're going to put that in there. Usually you put it in and out once, right? So let's just really jam this in, going in and out a whole lot of times. I'm holding the middle pretty rough, and we're just going to jam this around a whole bunch and see if or what happens. All right, that's probably way more than you typically do for any card. So out we come. And again, let's look at this top thing. We have our two little marks up there. And let's go right back to our camera. And right here, we've got our same two little marks. You could rewind it, check it out. So now let's look at the middle and see if anything has come out, or how it looks. The surface looks pretty good, you know, especially for a delicate 90s card. So now let's look at one more thing. We want to be thorough. Let's look at the opening points. So we're going to see probably around the band there, and a little bit around that jersey and that arm would be where there's any kind of extra rubbing marks. And do we see anything there? Kind of by his band. Nothing really. And then if we see by the jersey, any vertical lines or any kind of noticeable scratching, nothing there. So overall, I'd say after some pretty rough use of it, the surface is looking good, the card is looking good. And again, context is important. The card you're using, the pressure, all that kind of stuff. So this is just one example of a test to kind of look at, you know, what the results are. So do your own testing, though. Here's one to check out. I'm really satisfied with those results. Definitely impressed, because I want it to be gentle, you know, on my cards, and to be a useful tool, you know, in a lot of contexts. So, you know, partly finding the cool cards, you want to have them, you know, in good shape. So there's a look. You know, I think this is going to be a pretty versatile tool. And yeah, I'm glad to have it. I'm glad to use it. You know, I'd suggest checking it out and seeing if it's something that you may find value in. And it's useful in a lot of ways, in a lot of places. So overall, give it a thumbs up. And yeah, welcome you to take a look and share your experiences and see how things go. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with it. And thumbs up on the Sleever Pro.